I will tell you right now, whatever level of engagement, audience engagement the advisor has right now, they need to double it.
So you've got the venue set, you've got the people, the RSVPs taken care of, doors are ready to open. Now what? Here we are talking on Ready, Set, Grow Strategies about the dinner seminar process. And in the previous episode, you can go check that out if you want to. Previous episode, we talked about setting those appointments, what happens beforehand, the mailers that go out, things like that. So now let's jump right into it. It is the day of the event, maybe a couple hours leading up to it.
Big day.
Maybe you've scheduled a little extra time away from the office to make sure you get to the venue on time. What do advisors need to be aware of before those doors even open?
Before the doors even open, before a first person shows up, you need to have a plan for selling from the first moment someone walks through the door. Mm-hmm. They should be educating about you. The biggest mistake that I'm seeing advisors do is they just jump right into their presentation and they just start talking about it.
Yeah.
They need to introduce the topic very, very carefully of who they are. What is a retirement financial planner? No, it's a new concept. So you have to encourage people to understand what this is. And we start by, when people walk through the door, we treat it like a movie theater. There should be obviously there's a screen, you're probably gonna use a PowerPoint, but on the screen, what's on the screen when the first person walks through the door? We create pre-seminar reels.
Okay.
That are silent reels that go through, educating you about who this person is and what company they are. Some behind the scenes footage at their office, a little bit about their process, information about who they are, their charities, what they work through, them smiling, laughing, meeting with people. So it's like a reel that runs, it's probably like a 4 to 5 minute reel that's going to run on a loop.
Okay.
And it's just silent while you're in there moving through the process. All right. So now my company name's up there, integrity, trust, words are on the screen. I have a process, I have a plan for you. Our unique, retirement roadmap planning process. It's going to take you from here to here to here. I've been on this media, this TV, radio, publications.
Adding that credibility
in there. So it's not you having to brag on yourself. So got to have that pre-seminar video.
Okay.
You should also have a custom playlist that plays because you want to own the space.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to hear background noise of the kitchen. You don't want to hear anything else. You should have your own custom playlist. So you should have a video playing when the first person walks in the door on the screen, and you should also have that audio going as well too. But then, so that stops. You're about to do your presentation. They still haven't heard you speak yet. You may be working the tables, go back and forth. So like at a movie theater, what happens? You get the silent stuff on the screen, quizzes, fun, trivia, whatever. But then they show previews, right?
Yeah.
With sound. So we create a pre-seminar video with audio this time.
Okay.
That talks about the heartfelt side of why you do what you do, how you're different from a broker who's helping you manage your money in the market. It may be one of the services you offer, but how you transition to a person that's going to help them side by side in retirement throughout their entire retirement. They've never heard of that before. So having a video that talks about what the business is, how it works, and what they're dealing with and what you're going to expect tonight, so the advisor doesn't have to get up there and just brag on themselves. That's a great way too. So now, if you think about it, you've got a really nice professional beginning. You've got a great intro in terms of who you are and what you do, and it allows the advisor just to be able to do what he wants to do when he gets there.
Jump straight into it.
Okay. So having those pieces in place are super important in my opinion.
And then having the difference between, I was wondering why it was just a silent video at first, but for the playlist and things like that. But if you cut directly to that video with the voiceover or with the audio to it, it stands out more. It pops a little more. We talked in the last episode about, the pre-appointment, the calling and getting to know them better. Prior to the presentation even beginning, is this the time when you're working the room, or do you save that for?
Always work the room.
Always
build a relationship.
Sure.
So the person at the desk, like we talked about in the last episode, is the same person that nurtured them into the point of contact. Hi, this is Betty's here. Betty, oh great, so I know you. Yeah.
Gonna put a name to a face.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're having a lot of fun with it, right? And then you introduce, hey, this is John. He's doing our presentation tonight. Got any questions about it? Like we talked about? Hey, John, remember, this is the guy that I told you about that worked at Pratt & Whitney for 35 years.
Yeah. Okay. Things like that.
And so there's a good segue there. There's a good handoff, very natural to it. So that should be happening for the relationship side. 100%. Build a relationship.
Okay. No, and that makes all the sense in the world. So you get up there. The pre-roll, it's done. The audio portion is done. Now it's time to get up there and really This is what you're here for. It's showtime, I guess is the term. What should an advisor keep in mind as far as the presentation goes? This is stuff that are we helping them with, or that we?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're helping them. A lot of advisors use PowerPoints,
Mm-hmm.
but I will tell you right now, whatever level of engagement, audience engagement the advisor has right now, they need to double it.
Okay.
Doesn't matter how you feel like you're really engaged. I ask questions after every segment. You got to double it. You need the better presentations are more about interactions.
Mm-hmm.
The better advisors are better about being live on their feet, being smart, and showing how what they can help people with real question and answer stuff. So if we did a whiteboard presentation,
Mm-hmm.
right, poll the audience. Hey, on the mailer tonight, we had, to get that showed you what we were here tonight. We were going to talk about taxes. Who's got questions on taxes? Okay, right up on the whiteboard. Taxes on estate planning. And then you just simply go through the presentation. You have some PowerPoint slides maybe to back you up
Sure.
on some things.
It's a supplement to it. Yeah.
But if you're getting interaction with the audience, someone asks a question, next thing you know, they get a full-size candy bar.
Why
And
not?
then what do you think the next time you ask a question, how many hands are going to go up in the audience to try to answer?
Yeah.
They're all going to go up. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Little things like that. Anything you can do to keep them engaged.
Mhm.
Because what's the average attention span right now?
Couple minutes.
I know you just lost me.
Yeah.
All right.
What did you say? Yeah. I don't
Exactly. It's so hard to keep people's attention. If you're not interactive, you're losing them. So keep that interest level high. Keep talking to them and keep everything going. Now, one thing during the seminar, we're also selling. And this is a sales. It
Sure.
is an opportunity to bring people to our company to get them to know how to help them. And most people will hand out a seminar evaluation form.
Okay.
So when you check in with the event, you get your folder, you get a piece of paper. Hey, put your name and phone number at the top of this, and we'll be referring back to this throughout the presentation. And I like using that phrase. We'll be referring back throughout the presentation. On the checklist or on the seminar evaluation sheet are the topics from the mailer with check boxes next to them. And then those are basically the chapters that you'll be doing during your presentation. So after each chapter, build into your PowerPoint presentation the checkbox with that topic so the advisor can go back to say, hey, if you have questions on this topic, check box in your sheet, and I'll make sure we come by and we answer your questions.
Okay.
So now, classic sales. Get them saying yes 2 to 3 times that they want information from us before we ask for the close. So if we're working through that process correctly, we're using the PowerPoint as kind of a crutch
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we go back to the seminar evaluation form. If we get them checking off boxes on the seminar evaluation form, and at the end, you're like, hey, if you checked one box, I'd love to get you the answers to your questions, which is great.
Yeah. That makes sense. And, we talk so often when we do radio and in every facet with the Impact Partnership is that a lot of people, as they're entering into retirement, it is unknown for them. They've been working for all these years and they have, they've saved money and that they've done a great job of that. But how do you turn that into your actual retirement? A lot of people are unsure about it. That's why they're here after all. And you said asking questions of the audience. Does that work better than having them ask questions of the advisor?
I like both of them. The better advisors can take inbound questions, and they know when to shut it down when it gets too in depth or maybe to a personal situation.
Sure.
Or it's taking the whole presentation off to the left.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important to have a process for questions and answers. And if people say to hold all questions to the end,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a missed opportunity.
Okay. I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity to get to know people.
Because I think by that time, as you mentioned, people's attention spans may have waned, and the question that they had earlier, even if they write it down, at this point they go, I don't really want. I'm just trying to get out of here, or,
Sure.
But the presentation in and of itself, giving examples, client examples, what really goes into that? Because you mentioned that we help them with actually crafting that presentation and putting it together. Do client stories, is that what works best?
You lead with client stories,
Okay.
right? So it's the way you take a topic, you introduce the topic,
Mm-hmm.
Why it's a problem, how you can fix it, and a story about how you've done it already. And then a little recap and review, and then you move on to the next chapter. It's a very structured format because that's how people are taught to learn things. Introduce the topic, show them why it's a problem, show them how you have the solution to it, give a story. So you're repeating yourself a bunch, but it helps get the educational point across. Story from your office, recap and review, and get on to the next topic. Check the box.
Chances are there's someone at the table who's had a story that's similar to that. They've had a similar experience. Said, very similar situation. I am worried about X, Y, or Z, and he took care of them. So this is what I want to know more about.
The storytelling helps because nobody wants to be first in line, but they all want to get in line.
Sure.
They want to know that if I get in line with you, You can help me with this stuff. And showing that you have success with helping people through these stories, it really helps them say yes to come in and talk to you later.
And it adds to your credibility. You've got the experience because you've helped this person. You're not the person attending is not the guinea pig. They're not the test. Oh, I've never experienced that before. It's certainly not something that you want to say. Are there ways, how do you know when to pull the plug as far as if an answer that you're giving gets too granular for someone?
That's pretty easy. Just that's something I'm better equipped to handle at my office.
Okay.
Because there would be things I'd want to show you on my computer, some examples I'd want to pull up, some files I want to show you, some things that I don't have with me here today. I'd love to take a 15-minute quick phone call with you after this to get together and talk to you. And the 15-minute talk brings up the point of easy to work with. Okay. You can have a very, very diverse topic, like say taxes and Social Security. We just had Abe Ashton here doing a practice builder event, teaching advisors how to do some dinner seminar presentations. He goes through this whole presentation of 7. He goes really in depth on 7 different tax traps in retirement. And all he says is, I'd love to have him in my office for a quick 15-minute tax mapping conversation.
Okay.
So how easy is that? Who says no to quick 15-minute tax mapping conversation? It usually lasts longer, but you make it very easy to do business with you by saying, just come in for a quick 15-minute tax mapping conversation.
By making yourself available. Let's backtrack to the, leading up to the event. Do you recommend that they give themselves some wiggle room for the week after, the week following the event to make time for these?
Yeah, you should try to clear your schedule for the next 2 weeks after to book as many appointments as possible.
Because if you can't get them in for 3 or 4 weeks, it's gone cold at that point.
You got to get them while it's hot.
They're going to find someone else who, these are my questions, I'm going to take them over here now.
Yeah,
and
you got to
help me out.
You got to go while they're hot. And one thing that we're talking to advisors about, and it works amazing with educational events, and I have some advisors that are doing it very well for dinner seminars as well too, is what they're doing is they're baking in the first appointment into the whole process.
Okay.
So they're saying you're signing up for on the mailer, in their opening, in their close, everything, you are signing up for a 2-part event. The first part is our group event. We're all getting together to talk about this information. Part 2 of my commitment to you as a financial educator is a one-on-one to talk about what we talked about as a group and how to apply that to your one-on-one situation. So not only is it now, it's not an appointment. So we're taking the word appointment out of the conversation.
Okay,
we're taking the word consultation out of the appointment. People have questions, you have answers. That people want their questions answered. We try not to say the word appointment, try not to say the word consultation. We're just going to continue the conversation in part 2.
Okay.
And all throughout your presentation, you can be, hey, do you want to? We used this phrase earlier. Do you want to skip the line? You know, hey, there's a QR code on your seminar evaluation form. If you want to scan that, book a quick 15-minute tax mapping conversation with me, go ahead and do that whenever you're ready. And skip the line, get the time that's most available to you. People will book throughout the appointment, throughout the seminar. You don't even have to wait to the end. But if you use the part 2 conversation, it makes it so easy for them to say, okay, well, that was part 1. Part 2, part 2, guess what? Takes place at your office.
Yeah.
It's the first appointment. But it's really just once the magic happens when you get people in their office. If advisors are tracking their sales and they're tracking their appointment ratios, if you can get them inside the front door to see the magic of what happens there, your closing percentages
They're already
go way up.
At that point,
way up. And,
like
we can have a whole nother tracking conversation about
I'm sure
how much everything costs. So you should know that a traditional dinner seminar lead costs about $450 or more.
Okay.
To get a butt in a chair. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what? If I was allowed to, I would take my own personal money and I would invest in our dinner seminar presentation advisors.
Okay.
Because I know they're getting a 7-to-1 return on investment for their money. And they're selling $1 million or more off of each seminar mailing program that they do, meaning with a 7 or 6.5% commission rate, that's $70,000. If I could invest my money for a 7-to-1 return on investment ratio, I'd be doing it all day.
And I think that speaks to why, in the previous episode, we talked about how we've got advisors out there who do 3 or 4 of these a year. The ones I work with, the ones that I know that do dinner seminars with impact, they're doing much more than that because it's working for them. Sometimes they're doing, 2 a month even because it works for them.
It works. And if you want it to be super successful, help out your appointment setter.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question. Do you answer the phone if you don't recognize the number?
No.
Nobody does.
I stare at it. I go,
nobody does.
Voicemail.
So during this process, while they're at the seminar, your goal is to get your contact information into their phone.
Okay.
So that when your office calls them to follow up, it comes up, Chris Swan Financial. Oh, that's those guys. Awesome. You're not spending the time for 6 phone calls to try to chase these people down afterwards to book them for appointments.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get their contact information in there, so you can put a QR code up on a screen, you can put it on the Summit Innovation Forum and talk about it, or you can use some technology called Popple, which is a metal business card looking type of thing, and you
Okay.
can simply tap their phone with it, and your contact information is popped into their phone.
Oh, it's pretty slick.
It sounds it's super slick. So you want a wow moment
Yeah.
at your seminar? Hey,
It's
do you
already
mind
right
if I
there.
put my contact information into your phone so we can stay in touch? Done. So now when we've done that, all the appointment setters from these other offices, they'll call me up. They're like, "Thank you so much. You have saved me so many hours." And a lot of those people are comped on how many people they can book to appointments
Mm-hmm.
in their office. That's a good, appointment setter should be. They should be comped on if you can get people from the seminar into my office and also to a close. There should be dollar amounts along that
It's a
side.
progression,
So
obviously.
we're helping make people make more money here, like the staff and the advisors love it. Because why wouldn't I spend an extra $25 per first appointment if that's going to
If it's
motivate
leading to
someone to
success.
get them into the room? So the Popple, get that contact information into your phone. It helps with so many different things, and it's residual along the line as well too. If they need to contact you,
And it keeps people from being more hesitant to answer the phone when that call does come through. They say, "Oh, okay, this is actually, I know who this is."
Mm-hmm.
A couple minutes ago, we talked about client stories, telling stories of how they helped other people. Before we wrap up today, I want, if you feel comfortable with this, let's talk about a horror story that might that these people have encountered in these dinner seminars,
Yep.
And how we try, again, by being discerning with who these mailers and things go out to, who we reach out to, hopefully trying to avoid these. But just give me a story that you've heard from an advisor.
Sure, life's going to happen, and
Yeah.
there's going to be some crazy stuff out there. The way the advisor handles that situation says a lot about who they are.
Okay.
So I have an advisor, right, out of Minnesota. It says this couple of family of 4 shows up. Like, they brought kids to their event.
Okay.
Weren't part of the registration process. Didn't know they were coming. Showed up and said, "Hey, we really can't stay, but can we get our food to go? Can I just get my food to go?" And this is in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And so he had his members of staff take care. But like, you're going to go through things, you're going to experience some things like that. So that's probably, people just showing up not for the right reason.
Sure.
Right. So another story had, someone who was there just for the food, and it's almost impossible to avoid it everywhere.
It's going to happen.
It's going to
time,
happen.
Sure.
But they decided to be just, not nice about it. They was ordering at a steakhouse, ordered a nice steak, and they wanted to get their steak, medium well.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out well done. So this lady calls the advisor over, says, come here. This is after the event. He's doing the table walk around and stuff like that. She goes, "Put out your hand." He's like, "Okay." She grabs a steak, slaps it into his hand. "Does that feel medium to you?" And he's just sitting there like,
What do you
"What
do?
in the world? What do I do now?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's get you another one." And when everybody in the room saw how he handled someone who was obviously belligerent,
Mm-hmm.
obviously trying to make a stink, and obviously trying to just, not there for the right reason, the way he handled that situation, he booked almost everybody else in that room because of the way he handled those unexpected. You're gonna get tales from the strange.
Life happens.
You're gonna get it.
Yeah.
How you react to it is more important than anything else.
And we're not saying, for your sake, you guys listening and watching, that we want these stories to happen to you so that you can show, you rising above and being the bigger person. But it is something to be mindful of. It does happen. We do everything that we can to minimize those pain points, leading to, through, and beyond these dinner seminars. So if you've heard these horror stories, if you've experienced these horror stories and you want to minimize them, not necessarily the steak story. I don't know how we can do that, but it's as simple as reaching out. You go to readysetgrowstrategies.com. You can reach out. Get in touch. You can like and subscribe and follow with the podcast, subsequent episodes, everything to come. And, really it's all about getting to the seminar, getting through the seminar, as we've talked about. Next episode, we're going to talk about what happens after that, what happens after you set the appointment, or when the presentation is over, what happens next. We're going to talk about that. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Michael Pyro, appreciate you as always.
Happy to be here.